Trump knew he lost. All the Republicans knew he lost. They decided to let him cry it out like an 18-month-old. We knocked that out around 2, I think, in the toddler book I read. They let him cry it out. He seeds disinformation. Stewart Rhodes says, I'm waiting for him to declare the Insurrection Act. Stewart Rhodes is now on his way to JIAL, jail. Donald Trump being allowed to cry it out is only possible when Republicans like Mr. Joyce and Mr. McCarthy do nothing. And when you look at we talk about it here every day, the current threat of domestic violent extremism, it is inextricably linked from lies told by Trump and his allies in the media.
Yeah, the lies, it's really interesting if you look at the beginning of the biggest lie of all. And I know that Trump supporters are probably not listening to us today, but if any of your family members are Trump supporters, let them know the following. He lied when he said that he loved his supporters. He lied when he said he loved law enforcement. He lied when he said he loved the military. He lied when he said he loved this country. And he lied when he said he loved the Constitution. The biggest lie he told was the oath of office. He was lying, as he had his hand on the Bible, that he would uphold the Constitution. The only thing Donald Trump was ever interested in was any lie he needed to tell to get power and hold on to power so he could look himself in the mirror and convince himself that he's wonderful, because deep down he knows he's not. And that kind of person is very dangerous with power. And he's getting more and more desperate. The dinner with Kanye and the white supremacist was desperate. This was desperate. And the idea that you have a journalist who calls herself a journalist, had Kevin McCarthy on TV over the weekend and didn't even ask the future Speaker of the House whether or not it was okay that the president of his party said, get rid of the Constitution. I mean, this crime is being committed all over the landscape of Republicans and Republican sycophants, including some on another network. And it is about time for somebody to be a leader here, because if they are, you know what's going to happen? They're going to win. A leader right now in the Republican Party would win, but they're all too afraid. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess, Jake Sherman, if they could stay in their sandbox and it didn't affect anybody else and it didn't endanger the country, if you've got one party's leader intent on terminating the Constitution, I want to be accurate, it wouldn't be a story. But that's not where we are. I want to read you what the White House, the Biden White House, had to say about this. The American Constitution is a sacrosanct document that for over 200 years has guaranteed that freedom and the rule of law prevail in our great country. The Constitution brings the American people together regardless of party, and elected leaders swear to uphold it. It's the ultimate monument to all of the Americans who have given their lives to defeat self-serving despots that abuse their power and trampled on fundamental rights. Attacking the Constitution and all it stands for is anathema to the soul of our nation and should be universally condemned. You cannot only love America when you win. How many Republicans, injected with truth serum with nobody recording the comments agree with that? Seriously, because Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't, Donald Trump doesn't. I mean, some of them are on the record not agreeing with that. How many do you think agree with that, though?
I would say most. But I would say this in addition, the thing that is going to let Republicans they're going to try to get themselves off the hook here is they're going to say that Trump later walked back those statements. And it's going to be kind of like what Joyce said here. It's going to be like, well, he actually didn't mean it. It was out of context, which it wasn't. It was in perfect context. He said what he said, and he believes it. And that the larger issue, Nicole, is just like the dinner with the Nazi. It gives permission, a permission structure for people to say these crazy things and start to believe them. Among his base, people could say, actually, maybe the Constitution isn't that great. Maybe it does need to be updated. Maybe we should throw it out. Maybe there shouldn't be election laws. So Trump saying it gives that permission structure to have that conversation, which is obscene and absurd, just like it gives a permission structure to neo-Nazis, anti-Semites, and white supremacists that they should somehow be normalized, which they shouldn't. They have no place in our society. They shouldn't have a place in our society. So this, in addition, this will give a permission structure for people to start talking about this stuff, and it's ridiculous and offensive.
And any sentence that starts with "just like the dinner with the Nazi," I mean, it's. I cannot believe this is where we are. It is the natural extension. No, you're right.
He is literally a Nazi. Yes,
you're right.
He's a neo-Nazi.
Right. In his words, again, we're not smearing him. It's how he describes himself. So the NBC Hill team has just fed me in some reporting, and I want to go through it with you, Jake. McConnell has nothing to say about Trump's comments on the Constitution today, but he says he'll talk about it tomorrow. My colleague Garrett Haake asked Senator Blunt. Let me play that for you. All right, we don't have it, but here's what he said. So Garrett says, Trump and his comments over the weekend about terminating the Constitution, what's your reaction? Blunt says, think you take an oath to the Constitution, you don't take it provisionally, and I can't imagine that the former president would make a statement. I mean, they all know he made the statement, even if they can't imagine it. So Garrett says a lot of people see a statement like that and they say, you know, what's it going to take for other Republicans to say enough of this guy? Blunt says, I've said all I have to say. So here we are again, just like, as you just said, just like the dinner with the Nazi, no distance being put between Donald Trump, who is against the United States Constitution, for the white supremacists, and the Nazi he dined with. Nothing. And weaker. I mean, impeached twice, lost the U.S. Senate for Republicans twice, lost the presidential in 2020, got, shellacked in the midterms in 18, and really made it impossible for anything more than a little red dribble in 2022. And they got nothing.
I will say this about McConnell. I think he's probably waiting to be on camera because I think he does his press conference on Tuesdays. So he typically likes to say these things on camera. I imagine, just like last week when he said anybody who would dine with these Nazis or white supremacists do not belong anywhere close to the White House, I have to imagine he'll say something similar. Roy Blunt retiring. I'm not making excuses. I'm just putting context around this. I think he basically, in my conversations with him in the last couple of weeks, has had zero patience for Trump and zero desire to talk about him. But this is where we've been since 2017, Nicole. This is not a surprise. I mean, every single week when Trump was in the White House, we don't have to revisit it, but every single week there was some other bizarre happenstance. Every week since then, there's been some other ridiculous comment by Trump, and they're sick of it. That doesn't mean, but guess what, Nicole? I didn't make them run for public office. They ran for public office as Republicans because they're adults and they're free-thinking adults. If they don't want to have to answer for Trump anymore, then they could say, I'm done with the guy and I'm not going to be in public office anymore. I don't have much sympathy for people who don't want to talk about Trump just because it's inconvenient for them. They decided to run for public office. I didn't make that decision for them.